What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 439. This episode, as all the episodes are, brought to you. Oh my goodness. I tried to say brought to you by my friends at Boost Mobile. I realized my Boost Mobile sign wasn't even on. There we go. Brought to you by my good friends at Boost Mobile. Little rusty, fresh off a little weekend in the Bahamas with the family. As at first things first was dark. Also, Damonza, good to see you. I was 6 hours into our trip. I was fairly certain I tore my ACL, and somehow I'm okay.
You thought you tore your ACL and you're good a couple of days later?
Well, I was good 5 minutes later, but I'm talking about in the moment. Very quick, and like, rate, subscribe, review to the pod. One of the reasons to be subscribed and to hit the bell and to get notified is because sometimes our schedule's a little weird. We try to do 3 shows a week, but travel and things come up at times, and so that's what this week we're going to do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So also, I need a lot of sports news in the next couple days because we're going back to back to back. But point is this. So there's this great, you would love it, this great water park at Baha Mar where I was staying.
Yep.
And they have like giant slides, but then they have 2 like kiddie water parks. One for little kids, like 2 to 5 year olds, and one for kids Deanna's age. Excuse me.
Bless you.
And Deanna basically convinced me to play a variant of like hide and seek tag in the little kid water park so there's like 4 slides, but they're all very short slides.
Yeah.
It's got one of those giant buckets of water that fills up.
It's a little jungle gym in the middle or whatever.
Exactly right. And the ground is what some playgrounds are now, like that soft foam almost.
Yeah.
And whatever. The moral of the story is we're playing for 20 minutes, and I see her, and I try to make a quick turn, and my knee goes sideways. I swear I heard and felt a pop. The other adults around gasped. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, this will not be the first time I've ever... 5 years ago, in Aruba, on our first day, I was on like basically a bouncy house in the ocean and trying to climb up on it to play with Deanna. I kicked something, and...
Is the glass right? Or I think it was,
sliced the top of my foot so bad, that I had to then... this is an all-time bluff by me that your mom called. Deanna and her are still playing. They see my foot is grotesquely cut. And I'm like, you guys stay. We just got here. I'll drive myself to the hospital. And your mom said, okay.
Which foot was it?
And I drove it was my left foot. I drove myself to the hospital, got stitched up, and then couldn't get in the water the rest of the trip. And I'm like, so I was like, I've done it again. But this is worse. But somehow I'm okay, I guess. If I go from sitting to standing, I hear popping in my knee and it hurts. So I think I did something that if I were expected to play in an NBA game would be a problem. But other than that, it was great. Wonderful trip. And yeah, I'm washed. And so a lot to do. They also have a great sports book there. And so I was able to follow everything. Oh, wow. It's a nice place. Not only is this an unpaid endorsement, but I actually paid them quite a bit of money via room charge and the casino that they have. So it's a lot of added value for Baha Mar, which pays me nothing. But I do imagine, given my gambling failings over the last 96 hours, will offer me a couple free rooms if I want to come back there. All right, straight to voicemail brought to you by Boost Mobile. Patrick Mahomes attends the Royals home opener. The Royals won a couple games back-to-back. They also, their second game of the season, were leading 2-0 on the road going into the bottom of the 9th for the Braves and lost 6-2. Something that is damn near impossible to happen, but it did happen. Mark Cuban won't stop talking about this. I regret who I sold to. I made a lot of mistakes in the process. I'll leave it at that. Also, fun fact, Luka Doncic scored more points in March than Anthony Davis did as a Maverick. That's true. Look it up, folks. More points in March than Anthony Davis in his Mavericks career, and the Blazers selling for a $4.25 billion valuation. All right, let's get right to the polarizing topic of the day. Rachel Nichols catching strays. Jason Timpf, volume co-host, is in the crosshairs. A lot going on. The NBA MVP race.
All right, about 2 weeks remaining, and the MVP race is getting spicy. So SGA is still the favorite at -300, followed by Wemby, Luka, and then Jokic, all with great cases. 2 questions. Is this the greatest MVP race that we've ever seen? And why is Luka's case so polarizing?
Okay, so we will... The main course of this is Luka. The little amuse-bouche appetizer is this the greatest MVP race we've ever seen? And the answer to that question is unequivocally, absolutely, without argument, no. Because there is... to be totally fair, I didn't do pencil to paper, go through every MVP race to see if this one has an argument for second place, because it didn't seem like good use of my time. Because I knew it did not have an argument for first place. Because the greatest MVP race of all time, and one of the most ridiculous, is, and we've talked about it once before on the show, but we will talk about it once more here. The 1962 NBA MVP race is one of the greatest pages on the internet. On the whole internet. Al Gore's entire internet, one of the greatest pages that exists is the Basketball Reference 1961-62 NBA Awards voting page, where if you go there, you will see that season coming in 6th in the MVP race, Bullet Bob Pettit, who averaged a tidy 31 points, 19 rebounds a game. He got 2 first-place votes. He came in 6th. Coming in 5th in that MVP race was Jerry West, who averaged a nice and tidy 31 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Coming in 4th in that MVP race was Elgin Baylor, who averaged 38 points, 19 rebounds, 5 assists. However, only played 48 games because he was in the military and could only play part-time. He was going back and forth between, I don't know if it was the weekends he could play or the weekends he couldn't, whatever it is. But, while he wasn't in the U.S. military, he was a part-time basketball player giving you 38 and 19. However, 3rd place that year was Oscar Robertson, the first year anyone in the history of the league ever averaged a triple-double. Came in 3rd. He averaged 31 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists. A nice, tidy 3rd. And 2nd place, with only 9 first-place votes, was Wilt Chamberlain, who that season averaged 48.5 minutes, meaning he averaged more minutes than there were in the games because he never subbed out essentially the whole year and played overtimes. And while averaging 48.5 minutes, he actually averaged more points. A nice, clean for Wilt, 50-point, 26-rebound-a-game average on 48.5 minutes a night. However, that was only enough to finish a distant 2nd to Bill Russell, who averaged 19 points and 24 rebounds. Folks, I wasn't there. I can't tell you how it happened. I just know that happened.
That was an insane way to finish it off.
Bill Russell ran away with it, averaging 19 and 24. Wilt was 50 and 26, playing every minute of every game all year. The Big O averaged 31, 13, and 11. Elgin gave you 38 and 19 while also serving the country. And that, so I don't care. This top four is pretty sick. It doesn't quite match up to the 1961-62 NBA awards voting. Now that is taken care of and out of the way, we will discuss what is happening right now with Luka, which is bordering on a little insane. Okay? Because folks are in real time, I fear, recreating the history of this season and also recreating their own belief in what these Lakers could be. Because going into the Lakers have already smashed the over on their win total. Many people, smart people that I respect, thought this Lakers team would miss the playoffs. They already have 50 wins. They have already clinched a playoff spot. They are a huge favorite to be the 3 seed. They also have a very decent chance of finishing with a better record than every team in the East except for Detroit. Right now, they're sitting at 50 wins. The Celtics are sitting at 50 wins. And they have done that despite the fact that they made no major moves at the deadline, and Austin Reeves and LeBron James have missed a combined 47 games. Which means they have done that based on the overwhelming strength of Luka Doncic, offensive wonderkind. And there are two things happening with the Luka MVP discussion. 3 things, actually. 1, folks are pretending the Lakers were expected to be this good. They were not. And early in the year, when they were the 3 seed, and Luka was averaging 33 a night, the discussion happening in real time was, well, they've beat up on some bad teams. They've gotten very lucky in close wins. The clutch numbers won't sustain. This team is not as good as its record suggests. Before the year, they were almost universally behind OKC in projections. OKC, obviously. Denver, no problem. Houston, having added Kevin Durant. Minnesota, yes. The Los Angeles Clippers were a much more popular regular season pick. Now, they were not behind the Spurs for most people because the Spurs have greatly overachieved their expectation, and part of that is a testament to Wemby, no doubt about it. And that's just in the Western Conference, much less where they would stack up throughout the league as a whole. So that happened. People reframing what they thought the Lakers' expectations were this year. That is happening in real time. Another thing that is happening in real time. People pretending like Luka just started having an awesome season. He was the Western Conference Player of the Month for January. Luka's month-by-month numbers this year are October, he started the year off averaging 45 a game, okay? But that's 3 games in October. In October, he averaged 45 a game. In November, when the Lakers lost 2 games all month that he played in, Luka averaged 33, 8, and 10. That's November, December, when the Lakers weren't that good and when Luka missed a couple games due to injury, or just missed a couple games, he was down to 31-7-7. Then January rolls around, he's player of the month with 34-7-9. March was the one bad month. The Lakers were bad. It wrapped around the All-Star game. He dealt with the injury and was 27-9. And then March rolls around, and for the month of March, he's 38-8-7, and the Lakers have lost twice. And if they gave away player of the month for March, I don't know that they do. I think they might combine March and April. But it would be him again. So, folks pretending as if he just started being excellent is not true. Now, what is true is, if you had asked me in mid-February where he was, and I think we did it on this show, in the MVP race, I would have had him 6th. In mid-February, I would have had Shai. I don't know if Wemby was quite there. Shai, Joker, Jaylen Brown, Cade, and Wemby all ahead of him. So, which is why I have not gotten on here and said he's clearly the MVP. Shai has been that consistently excellent all throughout the year. But I do think Luka is gaining massive, massive ground. And the last plank of this is folks have simply overstated how awful his defense is. Is Luka Doncic an excellent defensive player? Obviously not. Is Luka Doncic a good defensive player? I don't think so. Is Luka Doncic one of the worst defensive players in the league? By no possible metric can you feel that. Now, do Luka's defensive lowlights rank among the worst of any player in the league? Absolutely. The plays where he's just out to lunch defensively. Yes, and that is a fair criticism of him. But my pal Mannix talking about individual defensive rating as if that is a real thing when it really isn't. That's a team and a lineup stat, I think is unfair.
And also, with how much he rebounds, do you think it kind of reverses that at all? I mean, I shouldn't say at all, but like, I feel like the fact that he's such a good rebounder playing point guard, it should play a little bit into that.
Well, yes, and I mean, that's been a big part. Ask Daniel about, you look up, the advanced metrics tell us that, you know, Bill Russell, you were great, but the greatest defensive big man of all time is Nikola Jokic. All of us know that's nonsense, but the reason for that is because the advanced metrics really value defensive rebounding, ending a possession. And so I understand Luka is polarizing, okay? I get that. I understand that Luka annoys people. I get that. And I understand that at times Luka is his own worst enemy. I get all of that. But we are moving the goalposts on this player in a wildly unfair manner. The Lakers do not have a great defensive roster. And Luka's obviously a part of that. And they right now have tied with the Clippers for the 19th best defense in basketball. And that's, not very good. It is ahead of Denver, by the way. And it is improving and has been improving, particularly over the last month. But for us to, in real time, try to change what the historic qualifiers for league MVP are, in my opinion, in service of one guy's candidacy in Victor Wembanyama and against another guy's candidacy in Luka Doncic, which is an award that has never been 50 defense, 50 offense. Changing it up, I think, is disingenuous.
Would you say that is a percentage of it that's defense, though?
Of course.
Like 70-30?
No, of course.
Right.
Listen, I think historically, if you look at the winners, historically it's been 90-10 offense, defense, as far as what is valued.
Right.
Now, there are outliers, and interestingly enough, one of them was the 62 MVP race, where there was a guy who averaged a 30-point triple-double, a guy who averaged 50 a night, and then a guy who averaged 19 and 24
rebounds,
or something?
Yeah,
26 rebounds, 19 points. But he was so devastatingly impactful on defense that he won the award. Now, he also was a champion, considered the, greatest winner in the sport. Had, at that point, Bill Russell had accomplished more than Wemby, which plays, a bit of a factor into it. But there are guys that can change the rules on, all right, it's 90-10 for other guys, but this guy's defensive impact is so overwhelming, that he should win the award. So I understand folks saying Wemby's defensive impact is just unlike everyone else's. That is a fair argument. It is not a fair argument to say, I'm not even considering Luka because he doesn't play both ends of the court. Not if you voted for James Harden. Not if you weren't throwing your entire body in front of Steve Nash going first, second in MVP voting. Not if you were part of Steph Curry over LeBron multiple times. Don't tell me you're weighing this on two-way impact. And here's the other thing about Wemby's specific candidacy. It is, in my, again, not always so humble opinion, outrageous to give him extra credit in the MVP race for how few minutes per game he's playing. If you want to give the Spurs extra credit for how much of a contender they are, because it's like, well, shit. What about when Wemby is playing 38 minutes a game instead of 29? Totally makes sense. If you want to talk about what this means for Wemby's upper limit potential, about, well, what about when he plays the minutes all the other candidates play? I'm all for that as well. There are a lot of things where Wemby's minutes per game should come into the conversation. But his ability to win the MVP award is not one of them. When a stat that I think will absolutely blow your mind, Damonza, and I want to get this exactly right. This year, Victor Wembanyama has played 90 fewer minutes than LeBron. Victor Wembanyama this year is 100th in the NBA in minutes. 100th. Now, you can again say that means, oh my God, he's going to win 6 titles and 10 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and the Spurs are going to be unstoppable, all of that. But what I don't think you can say is, what I don't think is accurate is that Wemby's, the gap between Luka's offense and Wemby's offense is 20 points created a game conservatively. Luka's points plus assists versus Wemby's points plus assists, and there's more to it. And I know all of a sudden we've created a new term called roll gravity or lob gravity or something. It's like, oh, the corner threes they're generating. I've watched NBA for my entire life. I've never heard this term. Great. But the gap between, so you have this size gap between Luka and Wemby's offense. Now you can say you have an even bigger gap between Luka and Wemby's defense. No problem. But is Wemby's impact in 1,755 minutes, his defensive impact, that much greater to where it overcomes the fact that Luka has played 500 more minutes? The equivalent of, again, at Wemby's minutes per game, 29, 500 minutes is an extra 16 games. It's not enough for me. And again, if someone, I think there are, and I haven't even talked about Joker on this, and we'll get to him in a second. If someone argues for, here's why Wemby's the MVP. Nobody thought the Spurs would be this good. He's so far and away the best defensive player in the sport. I think that is a legitimate argument. Shai obviously has a legitimate argument. Joker, who we'll get to, obviously has a legitimate argument. What I find so galling, and I probably overused that word, is a lot of folks are acting as if Luka does not have a legitimate argument. You're god dog right, this guy. A guy who's averaging almost 34 a game for an overachieving 3 seed, who's second and third best player, both have missed a third of the season. That guy, every year in NBA history, had a legitimate argument for the MVP. And Luka's not going to come close to it. And I think that's unfortunate. And so, go ahead, Damonza.
You want to go to Jokic?
Matchups.
Oh, yeah. So over the course of the next 2 weeks, we'll see 5 games where two of the candidates in the MVP race will face each other. So first we got OKC. They'll play the Lakers twice and Denver once. Denver will play the Spurs twice and OKC once. And the Spurs will play Denver twice. And then the Lakers will play OKC twice. And
those 2 times. So listen. I think Shai, one of the reasons I believe Shai is a huge favorite to win this award is, and we're talking more about OKC in a few, I think Shai has a floor of second place on ballots. So I think Shai is going to get firsts and seconds. And I think Wemby is going to get first, second, third, and fourths. And I think Joker is going to get not a lot of firsts, but second, third, and fourths. And so I think that there have been instances in the history of this award where the guy with the most first place votes doesn't win it. That happened to Barkley. It's happened a few times. I think Shai probably gets the most firsts and wins the award. But I also think there's a world where Wemby gets the most firsts and doesn't win it. Because Shai's is all firsts and seconds with a couple thirds. Wemby is firsts, seconds, thirds, fourths, and that drags him down. I think that this only becomes a very close conversation if the Spurs finish with the 1 seed. And I have just...
So you don't think in those games there could be any taking of the torch?
Well, the problem is the Spurs don't play the Thunder.
Fair.
And the Spurs as Wemby mentioned, the Spurs dominated the Thunder when they played them earlier this year. Wemby was playing in a couple of those games, played like 20 minutes. Which again, all of these arguments could be arguments as to why they're going to win the title, all these things. But the MVP is not a hypothetical award. It's not, what they could have done. And so I just don't. Luka's in a weird spot. And I want to say one other thing about Luka, and then we'll talk Joker. It's also really weird that he is treated this way despite the fact that he has been every year of his playoff career an absolute playoff killer. Just a killer. His first year in the playoffs against what everyone thought was the best team in the league. Kawhi, Paul George, Clippers. In that playoff series, as a huge underdog, puts up 10 and 9. They lose in 6. His next year in the playoffs, again, against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. He's being guarded 100% of his possessions by peak Kawhi and Paul George. They lose in 7 as a big underdog. He averages 36, 8, and 10. His next year in the playoffs, they're underdogs in round 2 against the favorite Suns. He makes Devin Booker cry almost. Gives you 32, 10, and 6 that playoff run. They then miss the playoffs 1 year. And his next time in the playoffs, he carries the Mavs to the finals. Beating Shai, then beating Ant. And then last year, obviously, he was 30 points a game in those playoffs in the one round against the Timberwolves. That was a disaster for the Lakers. There's no doubt, no way around that. But it's just, is he a perfect player? No. Does he deserve more respect from the people and folks doing a closer introspection on, wait a minute, I didn't think the Lakers had any shot at contending. I thought the Lakers might miss the playoffs. Again, not Nick Wright, but folks out there. They've got 50 wins. They have the same number of wins as Boston. They've been the 3 seed a good portion of the season and are a huge favorite to be it. Bron has taken on another role. Austin suffered a major injury. The team is leaning heavily on DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart. And Luka's just out there fire breathing every night. What's that worth? All right, go ahead on Joker.
Jokic will average a triple-double and be the first player to lead in rebounds and assists ever. If he hadn't already run a bunch, do you think that he'd be the front runner for the race?
If he had 0 MVPs, probably.
Right.
And listen, Daniel put in this. I'm not going to call it a whining question, but it felt a little whining from Nuggets fan Daniel when he says, Jokic is leveled up every year. So is he just ineligible to win at this point? He's not ineligible to win. And he's having an awesome year. And if folks want to make the case that Jokic this year is having a more impressive season than some previous years, when I didn't think he should have been MVP and he won it, so be it. But they are the Nuggets, I think, by a hair, as a team, have underachieved this year. They have been awful in the clutch. They don't feel like frontline A-list contenders at the moment. And Joker has 3 MVPs. So I don't think people are, when the 3 guys, in my opinion, ahead of him in the race, 4 if you include Jaylen Brown, I don't, as far as ahead of Joker, all have better records. All their team, and seems to be in a better position to win a championship. I'm not worried about the fact that Joker, as great as he isn't going to get his 4th MVP in the last 6 years. I think we'll all be okay on that. Today's show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet, Florida Sportsbook. Biggest weekend in college basketball is almost here. Round of 4 is set. National champion just days away from cutting down the nets. Now's the time to step your game up with daily dance and boosts on Hard Rock Bet. You'll get a live profit boost and a parlay profit boost for the games. More ways to shoot your shot, more ways to cash in with boosted odds when the stakes are their highest. And those heart-stopping zero-on-the-clock moments, I mean, we had one of them, one of the greatest all-time. Not quite a buzzer beater, but as close as you can get in the end of UConn Duke. They still, the ones that are true buzzer beaters, zeros on the clock, they still pay on Hard Rock Bet. They're handing out $25 bonus bets if a team you bet to win or cover hits a buzzer beater. Because when the lights are the brightest, every shot matters even more. If you haven't joined Hard Rock Bet yet, now's the time to check in the game. New signups can double their winnings on their first 10 bets, max of $50. That means if you would have won $100 on your bet, now it's $200. So don't sit on the bench. Download the Hard Rock Bet app today and get the party started. All right, Damonza, let's go to Shai if we can.
Yeah, SGA racking up free throws per usual at a crazy rate. So the fans on Twitter are pissed. The players on the court are pissed. Their coaches coming out pissed about it. Here's JB Bickerstaff after the loss in overtime.
I mean, he's elite at what he does, and you got to give him a ton of credit for his skill set and his ability, to create those contacts and create those whistles. There are rules for a reason, and he's mastered to manipulate them. So that's a talent, that's a skill that he's been blessed with.
So we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. But I think it's very simple. And the reason this specifically, I think, infuriates otherwise, neutral parties is it's a trio of factors that all seem to run in one direction, even though they contradict each other, and that direction is in OKC's favor. So, on Shai, there is the fact that he has mastered that stiff arm better than any player since prime James Harden, and maybe more so than even prime James Harden. And while they waved off what would have been his game winner against Detroit on it, it feels like he personally creates real non-negligible contact a dozen times a game, gets away with it. So that irritates people. But then the irritation shifts to being outraged, when on the flip side, it feels like he gets the benefit of any contact against him that is far less negligible than the contact he creates in if he's driving to the basket and gets hit at all, he's going to the line. Added to that, he's pretty shameless in mid-play deciding, I'm no longer trying to score. I simply believe you're off balance enough to where I can draw a foul or make it look like I draw a foul. So you go from being a little annoyed at the push-off to almost outraged at the calls he gets. And then that then levels up to, you know what? I think I actually don't like this team for some. When you add to it the way his teammates are allowed to guard everyone else. You have Dort out there just hurting people. They are actively daring the refs to call 4 or 5 fouls in the opening 90 seconds of games. They don't. They set the tone, and it feels like, man, it's a little Calvin ball. Heads you lose, tails I win. Like, Shai can push, but I can't guard him, and Dort can tackle me. What the fuck? And so
and then the pressers, like, and even the way that it's discussed as far as SGA and the team, like, I just feel that they are very shameless about all of it.
And listen, they're the champs. They're the champs.
They're so smug, man.
And I just, it is noteworthy to me that they have not been nearly as dominant. They won the title, don't get me wrong. But they have not been a total postseason juggernaut while they've been a regular season juggernaut. So I do wonder how the game being officiated differently in the playoffs can affect them again.
Right.
But it is... I know people were frustrated with Harden style for years. Totally understand that. But that wasn't then paired with Harden's teammates being able to just mug Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and you could argue maybe PJ Tucker a little bit. But so that's why people like Damonza actively dislikes the Thunder.
The Thunder organization. Just not the organization, but this rendition.
Okay
this rendition of the Thunder, I don't like. I mean, that's...
you can say, by the way, they're one of the few teams in sports that I'm okay with just saying I don't like if someone doesn't like the organization because they stole that team from Seattle.
Yeah,
they said they weren't going to move and they moved them. But listen, Presti's obviously brilliant. Their coach is excellent. Shai is having another one of the greatest guard seasons ever. There's no denying any of that. He's done it without. One of the reasons that I won't yet, we got 6 games left. I don't think Luka has yet caught Shai. Yes, LeBron and Austin Reeves missed 47 games, but Jalen Williams, his second best player, missed basically the equivalent. And so they deserve credit. But man, oh man, they are enraging. Like there's no argument that it's a lot of people, fans, coaches, other players find them enraging, which is why if the bracket holds, Daniel, be happy. America will be rooting for your big Serbian love, Nikola Jokic, in round 2. Folks will be rooting hard for the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And the Nuggets would be very live in that series. Go ahead.
I want to ask, if SGA didn't have this weapon with the free throws getting to the line, do you think that he'd still be where he's at in the MVP candidate race, or just period?
Well, listen, I think it's unfair. I think that's kind of an unfair hypothetical because
it's weird, right?
It also is, if he didn't have it, he would have, like if this was called differently or whatever, he has shown he is such a smart and skilled player that he would have just pivoted what he focuses on 5 years ago.
Right.
And
That's
so
fair.
I don't think he's the best player in the world. I've never thought he's the best player in the world. And listen, I think Joker's the best player in the world, and this is where people are gonna say, I can't. What's my proof on this? And it's just what I believe. I think Luka's better than Shai.
Yeah.
They've like, and listen, Shai's won an MVP. Shai's won a title. Luka's done neither. I get it. Luka's actually by a couple months younger than him. They've played once in the playoffs. Luka won. I don't think that Thunder team. It's like, oh man, put Luka in SGA's spot. What happens to that team? They're the favorites still. And like that team is actually built perfectly to deal with Luka's weaknesses as a defender. So I think he might be in the category better than this player, but of Steve Nash, where the guy wins back-to-back MVPs and is not universally regarded as the best player in the league. All right, before we get to the Lakers win last night and then some other stuff, and we'll probably do a bunch of football tomorrow, because there's this crazy Jalen Hurts Eagles story that came out this morning that I want to get to tomorrow. Lamar Damonza might not be going to off-season workouts.
It's not great. I mean, he's doing the boxing though. That's good cardio. Like, I mean, he's doing something.
The new head coach, it wouldn't be great.
Yeah, it's not.
So we might get to some of the football stuff tomorrow, and but there's more things we need to do. But first, reminder, one of our new sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored by Ethos. You need to be ready for anything in life, and making sure you have a plan for your family in the event of unforeseen circumstances should be a top priority. Certainly the top of my mind as a parent, and it's a weird one because nobody likes thinking about dying or death, but especially if you have a family, and especially if you are, have young kids, or really however old your kids are, if you're still one of, the main breadwinners or providers of the family, life insurance is something that we all need, and it's something that, if you can afford it, is an easy thing to kind of remove some of that, concern when you're laying your head on the pillow. And that's why Ethos is great, because it makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online, and super affordable. You can get a quote in seconds, you can apply in minutes, and you can get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few health questions online. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some policies are as low as $30 a month. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Help protect your family with life insurance through Ethos. Get your instant free quote at ethos.com/right. That's ethos.com/right. And again, on stuff like this, I think it's very important, because this is an important thing, but it's also a real life thing that I'm very clear. Like you can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some policies are as low as $30 a month. You're not going to get, but you probably don't need a $3 million policy for $30 a month. But just having something in place for what is potentially not a lot of money out of pocket can really make you feel better. So again, ethos.com/right. Application times and rates may vary. All right, Damonza, we're going to talk a little soccer here for a minute.
Yeah, so the U.S. men's national team lost 2-0 against Portugal in a friendly match yesterday. The World Cup is 2 months away. Can we fix our problems now before?
I'm getting very worried. And you know what? I also want to say something else real quick about talking World Cup and talking soccer, because I was updated over the weekend, because we did a 26 players that'll define the World Cup countdown show on First Things First Friday half-hour show that some of soccer Twitter was none too happy with us. Like, oh, these guys talking soccer. These guys don't ever talk. So let me say this on the front end. Soccer gatekeepers. It's the biggest sporting event in the world. You want people that are not necessarily following Serie A and the EPL to be super into it. And they are. So be a little more welcoming and a little nicer. That's first of all. Second of all, I am following that shit. Who was in person at Inter Milan's first home match as the defending Serie A champions? This guy. Great seats. Who, I won't name names, who had dinner with one of the best defenders in Europe that same week, talking soccer. This guy, who used to have season tickets to the Sporting KC.
Yes,
this
I
guy. We used to go. Those were fun matches to go to. I watched the single worst moment of LeBron's career. Game 5 finals against Dallas at a bar across from a Sporting KC game because I was trying to be able to watch go to the soccer game and watch the finals game. So keep your little shit talking to yourself, folks. I'm into it. And as someone who's into it, I'm here to tell you what a disastrous last 10 days for the U.S. men's national team. We get absolutely clocked by Belgium. Portugal blanks us. Pulisic hasn't scored a goal for club or country this year. Our coach says, well, the big difference is the teams we're playing have awesome players and we don't. What? Now, you might be like, he didn't say that, did he? He said, the difference is we've been playing teams with top 100 players. We don't have that. That ain't great. And a little extra knife, our group, which we got a huge benefit by being, if you're in the host country, they treat you as if you are one of the best teams in the... They try to separate all of, it used to be 8, now it's 12, best teams in the world into their own 12 different groups. But what they actually do is they take all the best teams plus the host country and make sure they're all in all different groups. So the U.S. plus Mexico and Canada, who did not necessarily deserve to be pot 1 teams, along with England and France and Spain and Brazil and Argentina, we got pot 1 placement because we're a host country. And because of that, our group was looking pretty good. Not quite as good. I think it was it Canada or Mexico that got the absolute best. Mexico got it was Canada. Canada, it's them, Bosnia, more on why it's Bosnia in a minute, Qatar, and Switzerland. So Canada got the nut high group draw. Mexico, pretty decent. South Africa, Korea, and Czechia. But the U.S. was sitting there with Paraguay and Australia. Not bad. But with one wild card team. And the one wild card team we didn't want to win was Turkey. Turkey did win. So now our group just got harder. Now they've changed the World Cup where to make the knockout round instead of it being a 32-team tournament that 16 make the knockout round, it's a 48-team tournament that 32 make the knockout round. So you can make the knockout round even if you don't finish in the top 2 in your group. So the U.S. missing the knockout round would be an utter and total catastrophe. But losing its 2 warm-ups against European competition 7-2 ain't great. And the expectation should be for the U.S. to win its group, win its first knockout round game, and then play in the round of 16 for a chance to get to just its second quarterfinals in modern soccer. right now, we're an underdog in that spot. I don't love that. Now, Damonza, it could be worse. We could be a different country. Go to Eric in the chat on that.
Yeah. Any comments on Team Italy not qualifying for the World Cup again as an honorary Italian?
I'm not honorary. I am Italian. And I don't know what Italy needs to do on its developmental level, team organizational level, to stop what is, I believe, the most mortifying decade in the history of soccer for a great soccer nation. So let me just tell everybody Italy's history at this tournament, because they've won it 4 damn times. Only Brazil has more. The first 2 times they were in it, they won it, 34 and 38. That's pre-World War II. Again, this isn't a. Well, no, we'll get to more contemporary stuff.
Yes.
We're not a history show, but if you know much about World War II, Mussolini and Italy on the wrong side of that one. And so we don't hold World Cups in the 40s because of said World War. Italy is then, call it reorganized a bit post-World War II, and they go through a damn near 20-year drought where back-to-back World Cups, they get knocked out in the group stage, then they miss, then they get knocked out in the group stage. But then from 1970, Damonza, until 2006, here's what Italy did at the World Cup. 1970, second place. 1974, they went 1-1-1 in the group stage, end up just barely missing out on the knockout round. It's devastating. 1978, they make it to the semis. 1982, they win it. 1986, they lose in the knockout round. 1990, they make it to the semis. 1994, they lose in the final. 1998, they make it to the final 8, the quarters. 2002, they make it to the round of 16. 2006, they win it. So we are talking about pre-World War II, they win a couple, go through a rough stage, and then 70, 1, 5,
In the
6,
mix
7,
and contention.
9. No, and then in the next 10 World Cups, they win 2, they lose in the final twice, and they make 2 more semifinals. So 6 of the 10 from 70 to 06, they are in the final 4. 4 of the 10, they play in the final game. And 2 of the 10, they win. Then in 2010, they get popped in the group stage, not winning a single game. In 2014, they get popped in the group stage, winning 1 game and losing 2. And then in 2018, they missed the tournament. 2022, they missed the tournament. And 2026, in an expanded field, yesterday they lose to Bosnia in penalties to miss the tournament. It's a catastrophe.
That is
Utter
catastrophe. It is
catastrophe.
really bad. What's going on?
They've won 4 of these things. They're Italy. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. And it is unfathomable to me that this would, it's not quite as, I can't quite say it's like the U.S., missing the Olympics in basketball multiple years, but it's not that far from it. And again, I don't have the answer here, but I know that Roberto Baggio's not walking through that door. Francisco Totti's not walking through that door to save you. And I hate it for Italy. I hate it. And so there's my
Minor
World Cup
setback,
update.
major comeback.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a generation where they don't even make the tournament. You notice how everything keeps going up, rent's going up, streaming services going up, your favorite burrito spots charging you extra for things like salsa that should just come complimentary. Not with Boost Mobile. With Boost Mobile, you and your phone bill don't have to play the will this go up soon game. Why? Because Boost Mobile has unlimited talk, text, and data plan at a price that'll never go up. In fact, same price you'll pay for life. So switch now for unlimited wireless at a price that'll never go up, only at Boost Mobile. After 30 gigs, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 per month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan. All right, Damonza, let's go down to the April Fool's thing before I give an update on the mailbag and how questions are going to work.
Yeah, so it's April Fool's. You don't want to do any pranks, but you do want to talk about the Todd Monken haircut story. New Browns head coach Todd Monken missed the coach's photo because he was busy getting a haircut. We've got a photo of it.
No.
No.
I mean,
What's
we
your,
could have.
yeah, what was your reaction?
He was getting a haircut for the photo, and that made him miss the photo. I mean, maybe a harbinger of another rough season for the Browns, but that's not what I wanted, where I wanted to take this just quickly. My question is this. What is the list of because here's what nobody is saying, or at least that I've seen, but I know in my core is accurate. For some coaches, they would wait. It's kind of a diss that they weren't like, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't take it yet. So I'm trying to figure out the list of coaches. Like, who is the worst coach that's good enough that they hold up the photo for? Okay? So, like, they definitely wait for Andy Reid.
Yeah.
They definitely wait for Andy Reid.
Yep.
I'm fairly certain they wait for Sean McVay. You want to throw a name out there?
I was about to say, I know Vrabel, he's fresh, but I mean, he's been coaching for a while. I think Vrabel, they wait for him too.
So I don't think they wait for Vrabel. I think they think that Vrabel maybe,
thinking he's above the program or something? Oh.
Hold on. So hold on. The producer's telling me Sean McVay wasn't in it either.
Oh.
Why not? Did he?
Wow.
Hold on. You producers can, if you guys can turn your mic or camera on, or if you want to, or just be voice of God. Do we know why Sean McVay wasn't in it? Okay, Sean McVay coach's photo. You guys better not be wrong on this.
Shanahan.
Oh no. So did he just not want to do it? So I guess I'm wrong. You know what?
But if McVay was like telling them that he wasn't going to take the picture, I think it's a different situation.
So I'm very surprised that they did it without McVay. Now maybe they knew McVay wasn't going to get there. I really was just trying to get to whether or not they'd hold it for Sirianni, and my answer to that is absolutely not. That was I had a whole thing that I was trying to build up to get to that punchline, but the fact that my second pick of who they would hold it for wasn't even in there. Bad job by me. Blame it on the Mai Tais in the Bahamas. I should have been a little more buttoned up there. By the way, Kevin asks, will mailbag selections only be from live questions, or will questions that come in after be considered as well? We consider everything. So YouTube live questions, comments on the YouTube page, on Twitter, we will. And so the producers on Wednesday nights, I guess tonight, because we record these on Thursday, put 50 questions in the doc. I pick some of my favorites and we go from there. So that will be on Friday. All right, it's great to be back. Tomorrow, tease for tomorrow's show. Jalen Hurts story on ESPN.com. Lamar's off season. the all of a sudden wildly important Western Conference 3, but more so 4, 5, 6 race. All of that and more on tomorrow's show. Huge thank you to Boost, Ethos, and Hard Rock, and as always, Blue Duck and The Volume. Talk to you guys on tomorrow for another episode of What's Right.